Welcome to the Hopeful Divorce. I'm Hope, your family law friend. After working in family law firms for many years and watching thousands of divorces play out, I've learned some things about what does and doesn't work, and I'm here to share. This question is from the Divorce Men subreddit. Ex-wife asking me to watch her kids. My ex-wife is asking me to watch her 2 boys while she works night shift at the club. 2 nights a week, paying me $100 a night. We have a daughter together, age 3, married 4 years. I was stepdad to her 2 boys. Dads aren't in the picture. I was 21, her 29 when we got married. She divorced me last year after 4 years because of my own wrongdoing. But the way I see it, she left, so she needs to figure it out the same way I am. I didn't want a divorce. I'm not your fallback option while you take dick from other men. Whew. There's a lot of anger in that question. This is not a simple, straightforward answer to this. First, let's talk about the legal aspect of it. Now, it does depend on where you live. Here in Ontario, step-parents have a responsibility to their children. Now, it's not completely straightforward. There is a little bit of gray area in terms of the law with it. But generally how it works is if you have married someone with children or you have cohabitated and entered into a common law relationship with someone with children, and if, that relationship goes on for about, 4 years or more, then you will be responsible for child support for those stepchildren. And you will be expected to have some parenting time with those kids, because if you have acted as a parent, the law in Ontario says if you are acting like a parent, then you don't get to just divorce and stop being a parent. You've played the role as a parent. And now in other places, I know in California, where I used to be a paralegal, the law does not work that way. You would not have to pay child support for a step-parent. You would not be expected to have parenting time with stepkids, although many people will agree to that, parenting time, in terms of just all the kids, whether or not they're biologically yours. That's a very common thing to see in California and in other places where the law doesn't, have an expectation for that. But in terms of legally what you're looking at in this situation, depending on where you live, you may have the legal option to say, not my kids, not my problem. And, I'll just take my daughter on those nights that you need to work and you need to figure it out, childcare for your kids. That might be the legal option for you, depending on where you live. I think, in my opinion, I don't care where you live and what the law says. Those are your kids, okay? You say yourself you were a step-parent to those boys, and they don't have a dad, okay? Their dads are not in the picture. And this is your daughter's siblings, okay? And for you to separate her from her siblings and just take her on those nights that the mom needs childcare and having her brothers fend for themselves, that is not a good thing to do to your daughter. And look, I get it. You're upset about this divorce and you didn't want it. And you say that the divorce happened because of your wrongdoing. And look, I don't know what happened, but I can say it's never all because of one person. Whatever anger you have about the end of your marriage, you are entitled to some of that because it's never all one person. Okay, the only thing I'm certain of is that you both are to blame for the marriage breaking down, because it's always both people are to blame to some degree for the marriage breaking down. And you're angry and upset. And you don't like that she's moved on and you didn't want the divorce. And I completely understand that feeling. And it's okay to feel angry and upset and bitter, but it is not okay to punish your children for it, because what you're trying to do is punish her. You're saying, well, I had to figure it out, so you figure it out. And if you didn't have children, I would say, yep, you're completely entitled to have that point of view. But when there are children involved, you as a parent have a responsibility to your daughter to be a good parent to her and to her brothers. You acted as a father, to them, and they don't have a man in their lives to show them how to be a man. So what are you showing those boys, and what are you showing your daughter what she should expect from a man? Should she expect a man to just be like, figure it out on your own? I'm not helping you. Is that the kind of man you want your daughter to have someday? Do you want to teach her to be separate from her siblings? No. I understand that you're upset. You need to think about your kids. The real question is not whether or not she deserves this help. Whether or not your ex-wife deserves your help is not the question. The question is, does your daughter deserve to have her mother supported? Does your daughter deserve to have her siblings taken care of? And the answer is yes. So figure out your anger. Okay. And it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to live angry for the rest of your life and to put your kids in the middle. That's the part that's not okay. So go get some therapy. If you can't get some therapy, join a support group. If join a gym and work out, run a marathon, get some self-help books. I don't know what will work for you, but one of the most important gifts you can give your children is a positive relationship with their other parent. It's the greatest gift you can give your daughter, is to have a good relationship with her mother. Because kids who grow up in a war zone, it's not healthy for them. And so for you to deal with your anger is a gift that you give to your children. And so I'm going to encourage you to work with the other parent and say, okay, look, I can do this for the next 3 months, and then you're going to have to figure something else out. If you feel like you don't want to do it all the time, if it's going to be burdensome in your work schedule to have the kids come to your house on those 2 nights of the week, say, let's figure something else out. But in the meantime, I'll help you. You can have some boundaries around it. I'm not suggesting that you always just be there and that your ex-wife doesn't have to figure out childcare long-term on her own. You do have to have separate homes, and you don't always have to be there for each other the way that you were before you separated. But to just say, figure it out, you're on your own, that's punishing your kids, and that's not the way. That's not the way to do it. So sit down with your ex and say, this is what I'm willing to do for this amount of time. And then you're going to have to figure something else out. And, maybe she's going to have to get a different work schedule. Maybe she's going to have to get a roommate who can babysit, or who knows, that's on her to figure out the longer term solution, but don't punish your kids. Okay. Deal with your anger and be a good co-parent. This podcast is built around great questions. If you're navigating divorce, separation, property division, child support, custody, co-parenting, blended families, or anything in between, you don't have to figure it out alone. You can submit your questions anytime through my website at hopefuldivorce.com. Whether it's a big, complicated situation or a simple, what does this legal term mean? All questions are welcome. There are no dumb questions. Really. I read every submission, and your question could be featured in an upcoming episode. So if there's something on your mind, send in the question. Let's keep the conversation moving forward. This question is from the Divorce Women subreddit. What will my kids think if I move out? Hi guys, my soon-to-be ex-husband and I are about to physically separate. The divorce is because he wants to open the relationship in our 20-year monogamous marriage. I'm the one who wants to leave the house. It holds many memories, and I just want to get out of here. My worry is that because I'm the one seen physically leaving, my kids might get it in their heads that I'm the one who actually caused the separation because I'm leaving, that all this is my fault when I've been the one betrayed. Have you got any advice for me? I want to tell them everything, but I know that's not appropriate. First, I would say to you, it's important that you move out, okay? You don't want to be in this house. It is not good for your children to have both of you in this house when you don't want to be there and you are feeling so much grief and anger over the end of your marriage, which, hey, you're entitled to. My first recommendation is that you talk to a lawyer first before you do it, and maybe you already have, but you don't have to hire a lawyer and start the whole divorce process, but have a consultation at least and confirm that Moving out is not going to impact your custody. It's not going to impact your rights on ownership in the home and things like that. There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people say never move out until everything is settled, and that's just not true. And it's usually really bad for the kids if you're all living together and you're separated and it's not good. Like it's usually best for one of you to move out, and it's totally fine for you to move out. Just make sure that you check in with a lawyer before you do, just so that you understand what legal ramifications there might be. And most of the time there's not, but you have to talk to a lawyer in your jurisdiction, and do not rely on the internet for advice. Do not rely on what your friends tell you. Pay for a lawyer to give you legal advice about your situation. It should just be a simple consultation. You don't have to, retain them and do a whole lot, but get some advice and then move out. And then when it comes to talking to your children about this and why you're leaving, the answer is really simple. You don't. You don't. You don't. And there is no scenario where it is okay for you to discuss this in any way, shape, or form with your children. Full stop. That's it. Maybe, and this is maybe, in 10 or 15 years from now, when your children are fully adults and in their 30s, and if they ask you, only if they ask you, you could tell them about the reason why the marriage came apart. But that's it. Okay? There is no time anywhere in the near future where you get to have that conversation and they have to initiate it. It's just that simple. It is terrible for your children. They do not understand adult relationships. You do not want to undermine their relationship with their father. It is not fair to them. It will have negative repercussions for them. It will have negative repercussions on your relationship with them. And remember, you are going to have this relationship with your children until you die. You're going to have this relationship with your children. So don't spoil it now by having to tell them that you were wronged, because it's not fair to them. Okay, it's just simply not fair to them. All there is to do is for you to process your grief. Okay, it is natural and normal for you to be upset about the end of your marriage, no matter what. And, hey, you guys have had a 20-year marriage that was monogamous, and he has thrown you for a loop by asking for something very different, and you feel betrayed. And that is a 100% valid feeling. And I get it. But telling your children is not the way to process it. Involving them in any way, shape, or form is not the way to process it. The only thing for you to do is to get counseling, talk with friends, do, whatever it is that you're going to do to grieve the end of your marriage on your own, separate from your children, and then show up as the best mom that you can be. And that's all that there is for you to do. If the children ask you, Mommy, why are you moving out? You say, because we are getting divorced. It's a grown-up decision and it doesn't involve you, and it has nothing to do with how much we love you, and it's not your fault. We are getting divorced because we don't want to be married anymore. And that's it. You don't elaborate. It is a very simple answer. We are getting divorced because we don't want to be married anymore. And I am moving out because I am moving out. And that's all there is. You do not explain it further than that. Now, you can meet your girlfriends for margaritas and talk about it and dish and do whatever you need to do to process it, but you just do not share it with your children. And there aren't many things that I say never do when it comes to divorce, because there's so many areas of gray. There's so many things that are not straightforward, but this is one of those things. Never tell your children the reason why the marriage ended. Just don't. No good can come from it. Okay? And like I said, the only exception is maybe when they are older adults and when they ask you only. And that's it. That's it. There's no more. There's other people who can help you process that, but your children are not it. All right. Good luck to you.
Thanks for listening to The Hopeful Divorce. If this episode was helpful to you, share it with someone who might need it, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations. And as you deal with challenges of separation, divorce, and rebuilding your life, always remember the wise words that Christopher Robin told his friend Winnie the Pooh. You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep moving forward.